Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Happy Makar Sankranti to you all. And today, many auspicious things happened, as we understand. It was the day when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also took sannyas. And we also understand that this is where a lot of important events have happened. And in North India, there's some level of some different festivals like Makar Sankranti and Lodi and many other different festivals on the same day, right? So again, happy festivities to all. And today we are covering these two verses from Srimad Bhagavatam 7th Canto, 1st chapter, verse 4 and 5. Please join us for the invocation prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiriyet. Shravataam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtanaha Hridayantastho Bhadrani Vidhunoti Suhatsatam Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Ruttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please join us in the recitation of these two verses, Srimad Bhagavatam 7th Canto, Chapter 1, verse 4 and 5. Shri Rishir Uvacha Sadhu Prishtam Maharaja Harish Charitam Adbhutam Yad Bhagavat Mahatmyam Bhagavad Bhakti Vardhanam Giyate Paramam Punyam Rishibhi Naradadibhi Natva Krishnaya Muniye Kathayeshe Hare Katham. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. The great sage Shukdev Goswami said, "My dear king, you have put before me an excellent question. Discourses concerning the activities of the Lord, in which the glories of His devotees are also found, are extremely pleasing to devotees. Such wonderful topics always counteract the miseries of the materialistic way of life. Therefore, great sages like Narad always speak upon Srimad Bhagavatam because it gives one the facility to hear and chant about the wonderful activities of the Lord. Let me offer my respectful obeisance unto Srila Vyasadeva and then begin describing topics concerning the activities of Lord Hari." Hare Krishna Devi, would you like to read the purport?
Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. In this verse, Shukdev Goswami offers his respectful obeisances Krishnaya Munaye, which means to Krishna Dvaipanya Vyas. One must first offer one's respectful obeisances to one's spiritual master. Shukdev Goswami's spiritual master is his father, Vyasadeva, and therefore he first offers his respectful obeisances to Krishna Dvaipanya Vyas and then begins describing topics of Lord Hari. Whenever there is an opportunity to hear about the transcendental activities of the Lord, we must take it. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommends Kirtanya Sadahari. One should always engage in Krishna Katha by chanting and talking about Krishna and hearing about him. That is the only occupation of a Krishna conscious person. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please join us in the recitation of Prabhupada mantra as well as seeking blessings from the Acharyas. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshitarine Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripa tadaham vande Shri Gurum Dina Taranam. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So, the world tells us that questions divide people. But Srimad Bhagavatam reveals that the right question asked sincerely liberates both the speaker and the listener. And what is the question that Parikshit Maharaj has asked? The question is important, and the mood it is asked is also very important, right? So we are entering today in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where the spotlight shifts towards Bhagavad Dharma in action. Beginning with a question that delights the heart of the speaker. Who's the speaker here? Shukdev Goswami. And who's the questioner? Parikshit Maharaj. In the 6th canto, we heard about Vritrasur being killed. Then we heard Diti feeling that Indra being the cause of her son's death, and she went through a vrata. And then Indra, knowing that this vrata is to beget a child who would kill me, he actually engaged in serving Diti so that he gets an opportunity to kill. And it's so interesting that because Kashyap Rishi, this is the sweetness of a devotee, he engaged actually Diti through this vrata in devotional service. Indra, when he cut that baby in the womb into 7 pieces, became 7 babies. He cut each baby into further 7 pieces. So there were 49 babies overall. And at that time, Indra realized that he cannot destroy these babies. And next morning when Diti woke up, because she had gone in impure state to sleep, she did not wash her hands after eating food and all. So yes, my dear devotees, after we eat food or anything, before we go to bed, we should always go in a clean state. So much so that some people actually take baths just to keep themselves pure. And here, this was the opportunity, but Indra said, my dear mother, I'm so sorry. I came here to kill the child who would be my enemy. But apparently these 49 of these are here. And she was surprised that, Indra was standing with 49 of her sons. And at that point, she also revealed that she wanted to beget a son who would kill Indra. Indra, understanding that actually these are his brothers. Of course, Diti is, Aditi's younger sister, married to the same personality, Kashyap Rishi. So he said, I will take them with me. So the 49 Maruds became part of Indra's assembly and his party. So they joined him. Now, after the 6th canto was over, the first question in the very beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, Parikshit Maharaj asked, it seems like Lord is partial. He's partial towards his devotees. For Indra, he is, killing so many people. Even Vritrasur was killed just because he is referred to as an Asura and he stood against Indra. Now this question, the mood in which Parikshit Maharaj had asked, in a humble mood, in an inquiry mood to understand the nature of the Lord, the absolute nature of the Lord. And now also the actions of a devotee, because Vritrasur was a great devotee. Even Indra realized and recognized that. So here, this question is delighting the heart of Shukdev Goswami. Now, Shukdev Goswami explicitly, he is stating, what is he stating? That Maharaj Parikshit's inquiry is sadhu prishtam, an excellent saintly question. Why? Because this inquiry creates an opportunity for further Harikatha. Hari Ananta, Harikatha Ananta. Lord is unlimited and his glories are unlimited. as well as it glorifies the devotees. And these two activities which are being invited counteracts the material miseries, because we transcend the material nature when we are engaging in Harikatha. So, yes, Shukdev Goswami could have delightedly expressed this and could have moved forward, but he didn't just move forward. Shukdev Goswami bows to his guru, Kṛṣṇa Dvaipanya Vyastev, Kṛṣṇa Muniye. So the Muni, the sage, whose name is Kṛṣṇa, is not the same as Lord Kṛṣṇa. He is Kṛṣṇa Dvaipanya Vyastev. Dvaipayan Vyastev. Dvaipayan means one who is born on an island. And he's dark in complexion, that's why his name is Kṛṣṇa. So he's teaching us that no spiritual knowledge flows without humility and parampara. So these two important aspects are there. Sadhu Prishta Maharaj. So he is, even though Parishta Maharaj has given up his kingdom, he was the king of the world, but Shukdev Goswami, how does he address Parishta Maharaj? As Maharaj. It's a mindset, not a position. And Bhagavad Mahatmya, Bhagavad Bhakti Vardhanam. So when we hear the glories of Bhagavad Puran, then it increases, Vardhanam means it increases our devotion, Bhagavad Bhakti towards Bhagwan. And Kirtaniya Sadahari, as has been described by Srila Prabhupada in the purport, it's echoed in the purport with this aspect that yes, what is our main occupation? Kirtaniya Sadahari. And what is the mood? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reveals the mood. Tranadapi sunichena tarorapi sahishuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. So being more humble than the grass on the stream, more tolerant than the tree, and ready to give all respect to others, not expecting any respect for oneself, one can engage in devotional service unlimitedly, constantly. So here, what's the core message? What is that important message that we get? That hearing and chanting about the Lord is not optional. It is the occupation of a Krishna conscious person. So today we'll be looking at this talk from an acronym, EQUAL, EQUAL. Now, as always, I'll give you the equal acronym, describe it, and then we'll take a deeper dive. E is referring to exalted hearing. Shukdev Goswami is very pleased that Parishta Maharaj is hearing with full attention. And when you hear with full attention, your heart is open to receive all the mercy. Right? So Harikatha destroys material miseries. That is one benefit when we hear with full attention, with an accepting state, to understand how this helps us, elevates us from our current state and further enables us to approach the Lord and his devotees. So we have to prioritize Shravana. That is an important, Shravana means hearing. Q refers to quality questioning. Right? Sincere inquiry attracts divine mercy. So we have to ask to serve, not to test the other person. That's the mood. There's a big mood difference. The context as well as the mood matters. And U refers to unified parampara. We see here Shukdev Goswami is first paying obeisances to his spiritual master, who happens to be his father also. So knowledge flows through disciplic succession. And it is a descending knowledge. So we have to honor the guru and the lineage, the parampara, the lineage. And A is for absolute vision, Samadashina. So seeing Krishna's hand in all circumstances, we should look from that perspective. And this will help us remain and always be equipoised in dualities. The duality is the nature of this material world. Happiness, distress, hot and cold, like, dislike, all these factors, that dualities exist in the material world. While we have to rise above this, and for that we need the absolute vision that everywhere Krishna is present, not a leaf can move without Krishna's will. And L, last but not the least, is living Bhagavata. So when we speak Bhagavatam, we see Shukadeva Goswami is doing it by example and by his conduct. So we have to live what we hear. It is not an interesting scripture that we are reading that is for our entertainment. It is to elevate us. It is to uplift us in our life. So exalted hearing, right? So Shukadeva Goswami says, Hari Katha is Adbhutam. It is wonderful. Why is it Adbhutam? Because it glorifies the Lord. It glorifies his devotees and it counteracts material sufferings. Very important aspect. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he confirms this. Kirtaniya Sadahari. Constant hearing and chanting is the soul's duty. So, Bhagavad hearing is not entertainment. It is spiritual surgery. So, what do we understand? That exalted hearing purifies not by information, but by association with transcendence. So we are directly in contact with Kṛṣṇa, and he is purifying us. He is elevating us. When Srila Prabhupada came to US in the beginning days, he would start his Gita classes or his evening classes with the statement that I may be impure, you may be impure, but Kṛṣṇa is all pure. So when we are associated with Kṛṣṇa, we become pure. Now, how do we understand this analogy? When iron is placed in fire, it gradually becomes fiery, becomes red hot. You touch it anywhere, it catches fire. Touch it to a piece of cotton, the cotton immediately catches fire. So, yes, we understand this example. Srila Prabhupada used this analogy many times. We have to understand what is that nature that when the iron rod has been placed in fire, it does not analyze fire, right? It associates with fire. Similarly, the conditioned soul does not become purified by mastering philosophy alone. Purification happens by continuous contact with Harikatha. So Harikatha is all pure. We, when in contact with Harikatha, become pure. So iron does not argue with fire. Sometimes we see people argue with devotees, or even about a katha, they question the various scriptures. It does not demand proof from fire. When we heard Dadichi Rishi's example, when Ashwini Kumar came and Dadichi Rishi revealed to them, you know what? I could give you this Brahma Vidya, but Indra came and he said he will chop off my head. Ashwini Kumar said, no problem. We will cut your head and keep it safely. We'll put a horse's head on your body. And then when Indra will come, you give us the knowledge. When Indra will come and cut off your head, well, he'll be cutting off the horse's head and we'll bring your head back. The Dadichi Rishi did not say, give me a proof that you can do this. These are the surgeons of the demigods. He just trusted them by words. So here, right, the iron rod, when put in fire, it's not arguing with fire. It's not asking for proof that, I'll become fire if fire. It simply stays close. And likewise, hearing Bhagavatam daily, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, softens the heart, right? Resistance melts away and identity shifts from material consciousness to spiritual consciousness. Now, Maharaj Parikshit, what is his state at this time? He has been given 7 days. So Maharaj Parikshit didn't ask for liberation rituals. Like, let me merge into Brahman. He's not looking for those kind of things. Or mystical powers. That let me just go to a different planet. Let me just travel to different planets where I can counteract these effects of 7 days. Then I'll die in 7 days. Or even become more powerful than Takshak, who's going to bite him. And he did not worry about the damage control. Why? Because that's shown by his attitude. What was his first question in Bhagavatam? His first question was, what is the duty of a man who is about to die? And when Shukadeva Goswami started speaking, Maharaj Parikshit listened attentively, right? And that hearing liberated generations. That is the lesson we should be taking. So when we come to the 9 processes of bhakti that we'll be sharing, yes, in 7th canto, 5th chapter. Prahlad Maharaj reveals to his father Hiranyakashipu the 9 processes. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakhyam Atmanivedanam. So the 9 processes, the first 2 are very important. The first one, who is exemplified, who has attained liberation, who has attained perfection in the very life, attained the goal of life, is Maharaj Parikshit through Shravanam. So it's not that you just sit and just hear, but also meditate on it. Help that knowledge, help make that knowledge become a realization, right? So this is the difference between Gyan and Vigyan. And that's also in material world, people look at it from the perspective of vision and innovation. Yes, this is what we vision, but this is what we came as a final product. So Srila Prabhupada, he would many times quote that hearing is the first and most important process of devotion service. And from his example in itself, he shared that when Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur would speak, Srila Prabhupada would go and sit very attentively. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was speaking sometimes in English, sometimes in Hindi. And when he was speaking many times, Srila Prabhupada could not follow what Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was saying. Yet at the same time, he never just left it because I'm getting bored or I do not understand. He attentively heard. So Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, once he commented that this boy is very nice. He listens attentively. He may not understand, but he listens attentively. And that is the mood. Right? So one should always take the opportunity to hear about Kṛṣṇa, to hear about Krishna's devotees, to always engage with Kṛṣṇa, just like the iron rod becomes hot in the contact of fire. Of course, a person constantly hearing about Kṛṣṇa becomes pure. It does not mean that one becomes Kṛṣṇa. So one of the notion is people have this tendency, how do I become God? Well, that position is taken. You cannot become God, but you can become godly. And Srila Prabhupada reveals that cleanliness is next to godliness. So when we are fully cleansed of our material disease, so I talked about that this is a spiritual surgery. Krishna Katha is spiritual surgery. So being through this surgery, all diseases, all ailments are washed away and one becomes completely clean. So one becomes godly by that. Right? By hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, one becomes liberated from this material attachment, from these dualities of this world. And Bhakti begins with Shravanam because it is the first and the most important process of devotional service. Harikatha is nourishing to the soul. We have heard about this analogy of a bird in a cage. A person is cleaning the cage and keeping it very nice and shiny, but it's not feeding the bird. How good is that? The bird dies. That is what is going on. In today's world, everyone is so much focusing on external factors that the internal soul is feeling that big void and trying to find it in external world. Actually, happiness resides in our heart and should be sought through devotional service to Lord Kṛṣṇa. Again, that should be the media. But people are chasing one mirages after another mirage. And what happens to an animal chasing mirage after mirage, looking for water in the desert? There is no water in the desert, but the refraction is causing the sky to refract as water on land, and they're thinking, oh, there is water. Similarly, what people do, they create goals after goals after goals, and they are chasing those goals. And finally, they spend their whole life, right? Now, deep listening is not just an act, it's an act of surrender. It doesn't just come, it comes to fortunate souls who are eager and ready to listen and to contemplate, understand the subject matter, not to misinterpret or speculate and twist the subject matter. So Harikatha connects us with our eternal home, right? Golok Vrindavan or Vaikuntha, yes. Now, a devotee said, I don't have time to hear Bhagavad. This is a common thing. Sometimes people, they think that they're great devotees and they come and they say, but I don't have time to hear Bhagavatam. I'm here, I come, I look at the deities. So we could ask, do you have time to worry? And the interesting thing is, when I did ask that, he said, always, worry is like always. I'm always lamenting about the past and aspiring about the future. Well, we can just at that point smile then. Yes, of course. Such a person who is always worrying but never have time to hear Bhagavatam is always already listening, just to the wrong speaker, to the mind, right? So everyone hears something daily. Only Hari Katha liberates us. So understand what kind of medicine or poison are we taking. So how can we really dive deeper into this factor, right? So Hari, hear Bhagavatam on a daily basis, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Even before checking the phone, the first thing we should get up and after cleansing ourselves, doing our regular morning activities, we should hear Bhagavatam. We should hear, again, we are chanting, yes, after chanting. There's Bhagavatam class in the temple also. And try to attend at least one class on a weekly basis. If you can attend more, imagine how fortunate you are. And if you're always listening, imagine how great fortune has come your way. And replace that background noise with Kirtan. Sometimes people have the tendency of running Bhagavatam, playing Bhagavatam in the background, but not really listening. That does not help. It's very interesting that I asked someone, I was so impressed that they are hearing Bhagavatam, they had this Bhagavatam going on their TV, sometimes on their iPhones. And I was like, this is so amazing. Are you hearing Bhagavatam? And like, no, it's in the background. I don't get the chance to hear it. But it's going on, and on my walls are echoing this sound. So, everything around here is hearing Bhagavatam. Then the doubt arises, maybe the walls will get liberated before the person, if the person is not properly hearing Bhagavatam. Right? And we have to hear even when our mind resists. And we should share one insight with someone we meet. Talk about, find an opportunity to speak about Bhagavatam, to speak about devotees, to speak about Krishna. Now, how can we prepare ourselves to be able to do this? Right? We should ask ourselves, what do I hear most on a daily basis? Right? How does hearing shape my emotions? When did Harikatha last move my heart? And do I hear defensively or receptively? Do I hear to rationalize, rational plus lies, to misinterpret, or to improve myself? Instead of proving yourselves, go for improving yourselves. It will benefit you immensely, right? And when we are not able to make improvement on a day-to-day basis, which we are always looking at, what have I gained today in our behavior? We're not looking at outside world to improve. We are looking at ourselves to improve. Then one of the questions we should ask is, what's blocking my deep hearing, right? So when hearing becomes exalted, the quality of our question transforms. No longer do we have to challenge. We are asked to serve. We are asked to understand. And that's where we come to Q, quality questioning, right? Now, sometimes when I talked about hearing is so important, Shravanam is so important, people may say, yes, I hear Bhagavatam every day. But when the speaker is interesting, or only when I am speaking, right? So another devotee could ask, does medicine stop working when it tastes bitter? Because we all know in India, malaria is one big, and the quinine is the only medicine. Even to today's date, it was there 300 years back, it's still the same thing. Now, the response could be, no, but I prefer sweet medicine. That's why sometimes people say, homeopathy is very nice because everything is sweet. They're all like sugar pills. Yes, but there is a science behind that, the way they are made. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a different stream. But if it benefits you, just because you have a sweet tooth, just don't take all kind of homeopathy medicine. So that's also very important. Take the medicine as prescribed by the doctor. So the disease really doesn't care about our preference. It cares about the medicine that can cure us and remove that disease. So here, Srimad Bhagavatam is not a desert. It is a treatment. It is a transcendental surgery that we willingly take through hearing. So exalted hearing works perfectly. When the ego resists, selective hearing delays purification, right? So we want the surgery to be very precise, very accurate. And we tell our ego, calm down, just stay put and focus on hearing in submission, hearing with attention. Now, somebody could say, I keep Bhagavatam playing in the background, like I was talking about. Well, then the walls will get liberated before the person does, if they're not listening. And then there is the other extreme. We see that sometimes people say, I already know this verse. I have heard it many times. Sometimes when we go out on book distribution, we used to go there, and we would hand someone Bhagavad Gita, and especially people from Eastern, part of the world, they would say, oh, yes, I have read Bhagavad Gita many times. And then we look at their action, and we say, you have read Bhagavad Gita? Have you studied Bhagavad Gita? Sometimes people say, yes, I have studied Bhagavad Gita. Then have you practiced Bhagavad Gita? And that's where they start, hesitating, because now the question becomes deeper. Because studying is one level, but practicing Bhagavad Gita is a lifelong process. You improve on daily basis. And that is what is important. It's not a book just to quote, but it's a book to practice, to elevate ourselves, to live life based on those principles. Yes, Bhagavad Gita tells us what to do. Srimad Bhagavatam teaches us how to do it. So the realization actually comes when we pick up Srimad Bhagavatam and makes our life journey easier. Right? And sometimes people have this tendency, when you talk about a verse, they say, but this verse doesn't apply to my situation. Like today we are covering, sometimes people would say, no, this verse that, yes, Bhagavad Bhakti Vardhanam, this doesn't apply to my condition. Well, it does, because Jivera Surupaya Kṛṣṇa Nityadas. We are eternal servant of Lord Krishna, and a servant serves. That is the mood. So we should understand, and in a humble mood accept that that's exactly when it applies the most, because it is directly aligned to our spiritual position. So the verse we think sometimes that we have outgrown is usually the one that we haven't obeyed. So exalted hearing is not about novelty, but submission, about surrender. Right? Time management. Yes, everyone wants to manage their time. Sometimes people say, I don't have time to hear Bhagavatam every day. Nityam Bhagavad Sevya every day is not possible. Maybe once a month, once a week, Then, interestingly, when we see them, such people, they are constantly on their phone. And somebody could ask, hey, how long do you scroll on your phone? The response could be, oh, it's just 5 minutes, 10 minutes every hour. Well, it's an easy way to understand that Maya, they have given a time slot, fixed time slot to material energy, but not to Krishna. Right? So the scheduled distractions becomes an excuse from devotion. So what we had daily reveals whom we truly serve. Are we serving Maya or are we serving Krishna? So here, today we are covering an exalted hearing, is that this hearing is reflected by Parikshit Maharaj's question. And when he is asking this question, his question is not general, like, okay, what is the age of Krishna? Or, what is he doing right now? Yes, that's a very good question, the second one. Provided it is asked to know about the Lord, hear about the Lord, not to compare. We talked about the 3 C's, His Grace, Gauranga Prabhu, he normally refers, that we should not be complaining, comparing, or criticizing. And people have this tendency of comparing to be judgmental. Parikshit Maharaj could have asked the same question differently. He could have asked it in a judgmental mindset. He said, oh, Krishna is always helping Indra no matter what. He could have said. But no, he says, it appears that Lord is, favoring Indra and killing his enemies. He's putting in a submissive mood because he has this doubt. Arjuna had many doubts and he asked in Bhagavad Gita all these doubts. Now it's very interesting. The very first chapter, the battlefield scene is given. There are 2 personalities who ask a question and their mood is very distinguished. First is Duryodhana. He is feeling insecure about his position, seeing how Dhristadyumna has set up this army. And he goes to Dronacharya and starts blaming. So when a person feels insecure inside, they start looking at solution outside. They start pointing fingers outside, not realizing that when you raise one finger to others, 3 are pointing back at you. He's saying, it is your devotee, your disciple, Dhristadyumna, that he has set up this army. And they are great warriors in this army because he's feeling this fear. Will I win? There's Arjuna on the other side. There's Drupad and so many great warriors on the other side. Bhima is on the other side. And he was always fearful of Bhima. So he's pointing outside. He's saying everyone should support Bhishma Pitama while staying at your places. So he's telling, if something fails, it's your fault, not mine. So you better watch out. I'm here to chastise you. That's the attitude of Duryodhana. While Arjuna, as a warrior, coming to asking, oh Achyuta, please situate all the conches have already blown. So yes, there is no point that the battle will stop at this point. So he asks Arjuna to bring his chariot to the middle so he can see both sides. And he has this question, am I doing the right thing? And he poses that question. He is not blaming anyone. He is not comparing anyone. He is not criticizing anyone. He is simply saying, my dear Krishna, what should I do? Shishya stays. So he is saying, I'm your disciple. Please guide me. So that's the mood. We have to approach in the right mood to the right opportunity, means to the right authority. Of course, that's why we talk about quality questioning as well as following parampara. So here Shukdev Goswami, he begins this chapter by Sadhu Krishna Maharaja. O King, you have asked an excellent question, right? So even in bhakti, not all questions are equal. Yes, bhakti is transcendental and we have to have samadarshina. But to have that samadarshina, we have to understand what is absolute vision. And before we come to absolute vision, we shastra chakshu. Shastra chakshu means from the eye of the scriptures. But to see from the eye of the scriptures, we have to keep our ears open and have quality questioning. So quality question is not one asked to display intelligence or to challenge authorities or to satisfy curiosity. No, those are not the mode. It's a question for service and existential urgency. How can I overcome my current mentality, means my material condition? How can I transcend this material condition? So a sincere person asked to serve attracts mercy, and we are seeking to serve. And a question asked to test blocks revelation. Srila Prabhupada was once at Boston University, was preaching. At that time, one student in the back of the room got up and said, why are you wearing this tilak? Srila Prabhupada immediately pointed to him and asked, why are you wearing that tie? The boy looked at his tie and couldn't understand how to respond, and he sat down. Later, when he met Srila Prabhupada said, when you ask a question, ask it in a humble mood. And also make it an inquiry that is beneficial for you and others. So inquiry must be submissive. Otherwise, there is no question of advancement. Right? One should not ask questions with challenge, but to understand. The questions when they are asked with humility, in a humble mode, in an understanding mode, in a mood of surrender, are welcomed in spiritual life. And that's why Shukdev Goswami is glorifying Parikshit Maharaj. And when we sincerely inquire, right, then Krishna from within guides us. Sarvasya chaham hridisannivishto matta smriti jnanam apohanam cha. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that I am residing in everyone's heart, and from me comes smriti jnanam apohanam. Smriti is remembrance, jnanam is knowledge. Yes, so Lord guides us from the heart. Yet at the same time, we follow parampara so that the message doesn't get distorted, it stays aligned. So here we are looking at our own life to improve. So we should also inquire, why do I usually ask questions? Am I just curious, inquisitive? Well, that's good, but am I challenging? Am I judgmental? Or am I passing comments to judge others? Right? Do I apply the answers I receive, for my improvement, or just to see that, others are improving or not, asking questions? And what instructions am I resisting the most when I receive? So when you ask questions, you get answers. And when you get spiritual answers, then we should be looking at taking them, even then when they are heavy, like bitter medicine, right? And how can our inquiries deepen our surrender, our mood to serve? And we can always ask ourselves, what question should I ask Krishna today sincerely? This is very important. Because sometimes Krishna comes, there is a beautiful story of a woman who she was carrying a pile of stones from one place to another. She was a laborer. And Lord Krishna appeared. And what had happened was, why did he appear? Because she remembered Lord Krishna with intense mood that he appeared. Lord Vishnu appeared. What was that intense mood? She was an old woman. She was very fragile. And the whole tokri, what do we call tokri? A basket full of stones had fallen from her head. So when Lord asked, what do you want? She said, just put this, the stones in the basket and put it on my head so that I can continue my service. Big loss. Lord has asked, what do you want? This is the time to ask for devotional service. That, my dear Lord, please give me devotional service. That's what we ask in our prayers. Hare Kṛṣna, Hare Kṛṣna, Kṛṣna Kṛṣna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And U is for unified parampara. Because there are 4 paramparas, right? 4 disciplic successions. Brahma, Brahma 4 sampradayas, and they're all actually coming from Krishna. Brahma Sampradaya coming from Lord Brahma, Rudra Sampradaya coming from Lord Shiva, Shri Sampradaya coming from Goddess Lakshmi, and Kumar Sampradaya coming from Chatur Kumar, Sanak, Sanatan, Sananda, and Sanat Kumar. So the demand is, right, when the questions are sincere, they demand an authentic source of answers. You don't ask any person, irrespective of their age, being old, or their experience in material life, a spiritual question. Truth cannot flow through speculation. It flows through succession. This is the interesting aspect. In the material world, the scientists, they work on ascending knowledge. They build theory upon theory upon theory, which is basically like discovering a material nature's law, which is simply called nature's law, and then how to manipulate that nature's law to build something on it, and then how to build further on nature's law to build something on top of it. So they are ascending. Well, that's a much tougher journey. While descending is the spiritual knowledge, where everything is already known to Krishna, and then he's passing on through the parampara. So it's like they are giving us the ladder coming from top. So we cannot lose our path. We will be reaching the same ultimate destination, the absolute platform. And here also, Shukdev Goswami, he starts with the prayer to his spiritual master, Krishna Dvaipanivyaste. So the questions, thus the quality of this question naturally leads us to a unified through the unified parampara to the ultimate goal, where knowledge descends intact through Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Srila Prabhupada used to give this example that in disciplic succession, the devotees are basically postmen, the transcendental postman. So they don't change the message, they transfer, they provide the letter as is. And that's why Srila Prabhupada named his Bhagavad Gita as is, which means as Lord Kṛṣṇa intended. So unifying parampara is a very important aspect, and revelation flows downward through humility, not upward through speculation as we see in this material world. Right? So Shukdev Goswami himself is the embodiment of parampara unity. Even though he is self-realized from birth, he still sits submissively at the feet of Vyasadeva. This demonstrates that qualification does not negate submission. Rather, submission perfects qualification. And because Shukdev Goswami, he honored his Guru, his words appeared as Srimad Bhagavatam, the crest jewel of all scriptures. Ganthraj, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, we say that. So it is Ganthraj, it is the king of all scriptures. Had he spoken independently, without considering parampara, the world would have lost its greatest treasure because the potency would not have been there. So knowledge received through disciplic succession is perfect knowledge. It is to enliven us and to liberate us, right? And so we must approach a bona fide spiritual master. Not anyone, but one who is in parampara. And sometimes people have this tendency, hey, I follow my own version of bhakti. Well, who authorized it? Sometimes people will say, my realization is based on my understanding. Well, then please initiate yourself in this, because self-made paths lead to self-made illusions. And that's the nature of this world. In the introduction of Ishopanishad, Srila Prabhupada's lecture was presented where he talks about 3 types of pramana, evidences. There is Shabda Pramana, Pratyaksha Pramana, and Anuman Pramana. Anuman is hypothesis. We cannot accept that. And Pratyaksha Pramana is based on senses. Well, there are 4 defects in this material world. Limited senses. Our senses are limited. If there is no light, our eyes can't work. And sometimes we touch something and think of it something else. So Anuman is not accepted. Pratyaksha is also not accepted because senses are imperfect and there is tendency to be delusion. There is a propensity to cheat. Human is we have tendency to make mistakes. These 4 defects, rejects the second. Shabda Praman is the only Praman because it is coming directly from Kṛṣṇa and is preserved to parampara. Yes, sometimes there are speculations happen, then they are immediately checked because we refer to 3 sources, Sadhu, Guru, and Shastra, and realign ourselves like a needle pointing north, compass pointing north, right? So sometimes people have this tendency, well, I don't need a guru, I have books. Well, books also have authors. So again, when we talk about Bhagavad Gita as it is, there are 700 lectures by Srila Prabhupada in his purports. So basically, whenever we have responded to this, that books have authors, there's generally a silence, an uncomfortable silence. And then the humility arises in the person's heart. So knowledge always has a source. And absolute knowledge has the absolute source, Lord Kṛṣṇa. And sometimes people ask this question. We meet them and they say, why is there so much emphasis on parampara, this disciplic succession? And why is there so much emphasis on wiring when using electricity? That would be an analogy. Srila Prabhupada used the example of powerhouse, right? The lights may turn on and laughter follows because, yes, you still need to have, if you try to directly go to the source through knowledge, touching the whole generator, you may get electrocuted. You don't want to take knowledge where it is not properly delivered. And the same knowledge, same energy may work differently. That's why Hariya Ananta, Hari Katha Ananta. His qualities, his pastimes, Lord Krishna's pastimes are unlimited, enabling us to really understand things as they are, right? So we have to understand how deeply am I connected to Parampara, which means am I following the instructions laid down in Parampara by my spiritual master, by the scriptures, by the sadhus, the saintly devotees around us. And why do I resist authority in spiritual life? Because we are all servants. We are not authorities, we are servants. Servants serve. And why do I seek confirmation or correction? Well, to improve, correction is good. But to prove oneself, it's not so good because it makes a person judgmental. And we don't want any mental disease, right? Because we don't want to hear Maya, we want to hear Krishna. So we have to seek what are the instructions am I avoiding? And finally, we have to develop that samadashina, absolute vision. A is for absolute vision. So this is also very important, absolute vision. Brahma bhuta prasannatma na shochati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labhate param. Brahma bhuta prasannatma. So one who's on a liberated state is prasannatma. He's in bliss. Na shochati, does not lament about the past. Na kankshati, does not aspire for the future. So he's not anxious at any time. He's situated in the present moment. Sama sarveshu bhuteshu. And he is equally disposed towards all living entities. And there is also a beautiful verse earlier in Bhagavad Gita. Vidya vinaya sampanne brahmane gavi hastini shuni chaiva shopakecha pandita samadarshina. So person endowed with proper knowledge becomes samadarshina, sees with equal vision different living entities. He's not looking at the external body aspect, but he's looking at everybody has this soul, the spiritual spark, who is connected with Krishna. Because Krishna is the Pita, is the father. Bij Brother Pita. So they don't distinguish based on external dressing. So absolute vision means seeing every circumstance of Krishna's arrangement for one's purification service. And when we look from the absolute vision perspective, we come to the last living Bhagavata, right? L is for living Bhagavata. So embody scripture through character and action. That's what we are trying to do. Early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. So if you want to become healthy, or if you want to become wealthy, or if you want to become wise, all you have to do is go to bed early, wake up early. But when you wake up in Brahma Muhurat, what do? Hari Katha. Hare Kṛṣna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And Srimad Bhagavatam is not only a book, Gantha Bhagavata we talk about, but a person, it's a Bhakta Bhagavata. It's also a literary incarnation of Lord Krishna. So when a living Bhagavata is one whose life becomes the commentary on the scripture he hears. This is what has been said. We talk about person Bhagavata, and then we talk about book Bhagavata. Person Bhagavata lives based on the principles laid out in Bhagavatam. And this enables us to, today we took this deep dive, E for exalted hearing, Q for quality questioning, U for unified parampara, A for absolute vision, and L for living Bhagavata. And here we see that this enables us to develop a mood so that we engage in Harikatha on a daily basis. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. But rather, Harikatha is Kirtaniya Sadahari. Always engage in devotional service. That is our true occupation. Hare Krishna Devi, would you like to add anything at this point?
Hare Krishna. All right, that was really wonderful. We read in the invocation prayers, recite the prayers, Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya. So today's class was deeply insightful, how to approach reading from spiritual books, how to maximize our association in the, in the presence of Bhagavatas. And also throughout Srimad Bhagavatam, we have so much opportunity to enhance our knowledge more in this manner. Parikshit Maharaj is the biggest example, and then we have so many personalities who give audience to great saintly souls like Naradji, Vyasdevji, and great saintly souls. So when we get these opportunities to do Shravan and Kirtan from Srimad Bhagavatam, we should consider it as a great fortune. And as we dive deeper into Canto 7, we will have many more opportunities actually. So Prabhuji, I think it's time, and if you want to wrap up now.
Hare Krishna, devotees. So again, today in Gems from Srimad Bhagavatam, we covered what's the true occupation of a devotee. Dharmasa nishtara pumsam vishvaksena kathasuya na utpadyate yadiratim shrameva hi kevalam. Yes. Hare Krishna. So it enables us to truly understand that anything that does not develop our attraction toward Lord Krishna is sham evahi kevalam. It is just useless labor. So what is our true occupation, my dear devotees? Kirtaniya Sadahari. Have a wonderful week in Krishna consciousness. Gadra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Bhagavad ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Go Premanande. Hari Hari Bo. Hare Krishna. Om Tat Sat.